We do have the announcement of the Aviation 400 Airbus Neo Mould. Now, we don't know as much about this one. I'm pulling up yesterday's airline article on it. We don't know quite as much about this one. Supposedly, it will though have the beacon light and the extra 200 scale Leica detail. So that'll be an interesting way to identify this one over the NG Models one. Although, from the mold samples, the NG Models one did look to be better, particularly in the wing roots area, where they have the proper curved edge to it. There's like a little section where the wing kind of like has like this I don't know how to describe it, almost like a little bulge that goes into the wing root extra right where the wing is. And the Aviation 400 mold doesn't appear to show that. However, the Aviation 401 does seem to have better fan blades. So we'll see how it looks. But as of right now, we don't know a whole lot about it, except for the fact that it is coming some point soon, whenever that will be. So that's that mold, and I don't even know if they'll make that many North American models, but it is something to keep an eye out. If they make anything that you're particularly interested in, Aviation 400 does have a new mold, and they will be an option for the Airbus 320.
Yes, this is a very interesting mold right here from Aviation 400. They've been doing a lot of expanding, which is very exciting, of course, with the Boeing 787-9 and Airbus A380. And this is a great way to move into the narrow-body market. I think this is their first narrow-body. I could be completely wrong on that. But it is really, really exciting to see this from Aviation 400. Just looking at some of the initial pictures, and I mean, there wasn't really too much background on why they chose to do this. But from what I understand, that there is even more demand for the Airbus molds, and it appears to be the Aviation 400 picked up on that. So this is really, really exciting. Taking a look at some of the initial pictures of the mold, I mean, we all know about the A320. It doesn't need really an introduction. But one thing I do really like is the sharklet angle. I do think it's looking really good, so I'm glad to see that. And then, yeah, the wing root area, is definitely a little bit odd compared to the NG Models one, which is definitely a disadvantage. But I still think that Aviation 400 does produce some really good airplanes, and I think that they can definitely make some really good stuff with this. I really like the 3D beacon light, and I even have a United 777-300 I got recently, and that thing was just incredible. The detail, the attention to it, I mean, just everything. The beacon light, the antennas were really nice. Just all the details were really, really nice, and I really appreciate that from Aviation 400. They go really far to make sure that these models are very good, and they always live up to their standards, which I very much appreciate. But again, taking a look at these molds, I think that they could do really good with these. Hopefully, maybe they could do just a touch of adjusting and make these absolutely perfect. But I think that Aviation 400 is going to do really, really good with these. These are, once again, phenomenal molds, and I'm just super excited to see what's to come going forward with these molds. I think that they could do some really good planes with these. And again, just looking at the whole mold, once again, the nose shape looks great. The fuselage doesn't look too thick. The tail looks awesome. Vertical stabilizer and horizontal stabilizers. APU looks pretty good. Wings look pretty good despite the wing root. And I mean, yeah, sure, we kind of need some actual models to get the full details on this. But ultimately, this is really, really nice. So well done by Aviation 400. I'm really excited to see this new mold, and I'll be very excited to hopefully get their planes. And it may take like a year or two, obviously, with their production and how it works. So very excited for it nevertheless, and I think it's going to be absolutely awesome. Well done.
Yeah, absolutely. One other detail I want to mention is it does look like it'll have a full APU inlet or outlet exhaust, where it has the actual punch in at the end of the fuselage, which I don't think any other model company has shown that, where there's actually like a little hole going into the exhaust pipe. So that'll be cool to see how that's implemented. And that's something we have not seen before. One last mold we wanted to talk about here would be the Boeing 737-600 that NG Models is finally making. They announced the very first one will be an Aeroflyer 737-600. This will have the updated 600 mold because the first one had some issues, and they're fixing that, and this one will look very good. Now, there is a rumored 737 MAX and an A318 that is apparently coming very soon. But we'll talk about that more in detail in a later episode when we have more concrete, realistic details on it other than just some rumors. So, the 737-600 is the smallest of the 737 NG family. It's actually one of the smallest 737s ever made. And this aircraft was fairly unpopular. It did not sell very well. I believe there's somewhere between 30 to 50 total made, and there weren't a whole lot the majority of them operated by WestJet. They're also in operation today, such as the Aeroflyer 1, which is a former WestJet 737-600, and it will now be a charter 737-600. Of course, I'm very excited for the Janet AL1, which flies into Las Vegas, which is why I'm interested in it. But it'll be a very interesting aircraft, and there's definitely some 737-600s they can do. And one of the cool things for NG doing multiple variants of the same mold, which allows them to make different variants of a certain aircraft, is they can reduce the cost to make the mold, so they can make more obscure aircraft, such as the 737-600, because there aren't a whole lot that were made. There's not a whole lot of liveries they can do, but they are still doing it, which I think is awesome.
Yes, very exciting to see the Boeing 737-600 from NG Models, excuse me. This mold that obviously they announced previously, but are finally getting going, which is very exciting. Despite not many aircraft, it's really nice that they just went the extra mile and made the mold. I think that they can make some really high quality ones like the Janet, as Citrus mentioned, WestJet, Aeroflyer, as they'll be doing, and any other various aircraft. There's not a ton of airlines, so it's kind of, there is kind of a ceiling with it, but I'm really excited to see what they'll do with the Boeing 767-300. I think they'll do a great job, and I'm very excited to see where they'll take the 737-600 going into the future.
Runway 17, clear to land. Clear to land, runway 17, come on, 257 Kilo Alpha.